Right, in this session we're going to look at formatting text, specifically using the JCE editor. So we're going to set up a new article called Lorem Ipsum. Lorem Ipsum text is just filler text, and I've got a bunch of it all ready to go. We're going to put this in the news, latest news section and category. Now again, content items can only be assigned to one section and category at a time. This is one of the limitations of Joomla, which is being addressed in Joomla 1.6, and even currently through a component called K2. Alright, so we've got our section and category. We're going to immediately change publish to no, just in case we forget. And I've got text all ready to go, so I'm just going to paste that in and then click apply. By applying that straight away, it saves my article, but leaves me in here to start editing. Alright, starting at the top then. If I want to bold some text, it's as simple as Microsoft Word. Highlight the text I want and click the B. Click it again to unbold it. If I want it italicized, underlined, again, very similar to Word. With this particular template, you can't see the underlined text in this editor, but it is underlined. If I want to change the font family, font size, and styles, I can do that here. But let me encourage you not do that unless you really need to. Your template comes with a set of predefined paragraph tags, or P tags. P for the normal paragraph, div, heading 1 through 6, block quote, term definitions, code, and pre-formatted. Those are built into pretty much every template, and I'd encourage you to try and stick with those. If you do, it keeps your code nice and clean, and your template is in control of your content items. So if later on you change your template, your content items will automatically be updated. If for some reason you don't choose to do that, and you use the font family, font size drop-downs, then your template no longer has control over some of these things, and your articles may not update the way you choose. But that's okay. You can choose any font. Joomla will show you the fonts that work on the web. You can change the font size from anything to little tiny font to pretty big font. And if you want your text to have any particular style from your template, you can do that. If I want to have a strike-through through my text, I can just click there. If I want to center justify, left justify, right justify, fully justify, you get the idea. If you've used Microsoft Word at all or any other WYSIWYG editor, it pretty much acts the same way. Let's say I want to have a heading in here. This is where my P tags come in. You should only have one H1 tag on any given page, and usually that's the title of your article. So don't use H1 tags in your article itself. Use H2, H3, etc. Let's make this an H3 tag. That's nice and big. Notice when I hit return, it switches it back to a P tag, which is the normal formatting for an article. Alright, so that's row 1. Let's look at row 2. We've already talked a little bit about this. Paste from Word. I discourage you from using that. Paste from plain text. You can do that and then format your content easily. Both these icons are search and replace. If I want to change the color of my font, I can easily do that. I'm pretty much able to use any color I want. Any color on the spectrum. And I can do that way. Again, you want to make sure the colors you choose complement your template so they look good. If I want to highlight my text, I can do that. That's pretty ugly, so probably we wouldn't want to do that, but you get the idea. If I want to indent my text, I highlight it, click the indent button, and Joomla will indent it for me. This is not the same thing as a block quote. We'll look at that in just a moment. Unindent. Of course, undo, redo. If I need to have lists in my articles, I have two options: an ordered list, which is numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an unordered list, which are bullet points. Again, these are determined by your template, but let's just go ahead and put a list in here. My practice is to enter the text in that I want to put in a list first, and then highlight the text and choose the list style that I want to use, whether it's ordered or unordered. And Joomla will allow you to switch between the two. If I need to add another item, I just come to the end of that line, hit return, and I can add another item. If I hit return twice, it takes me out of that list. Cut, copy, and paste works the same way as any editor does. The next icon here is insert or edit an anchor. This is kind of cool. If I have a spot in my article where I want to have a link to from somewhere else in my article, I just insert what's called an anchor. So I highlight the text, click the anchor, give it a name, click insert. Now that can be any name, but each anchor tag needs to be unique. Now I can create a link to that anchor tag by coming down here to Insert and Edit Link. Choose the anchor that I want. I can have that open in a new window, but that would be kind of silly. So I'm just going to say Not Set, click Insert, and now this is a link to that anchor tag. My article, once it's published, if I click on that link, it'll immediately take me to this section of the article. Let's go ahead and click Apply. Remember, have to apply regularly just in case the browser crashes or something unforeseen happens, like you need to go get coffee. Clean Up Messy Code goes through your article and cleans up any font tags or p tags that are left hanging or something happened and a tag was left unclosed. That's what that will do. All right, let's move to row 3. These two buttons change the direction of text readability from left to right and right to left. Depending on your site, you may not want to use these, but you're able to insert basic emoticons right inside the JCE editor. This button here is a toggle for full screen editing. This icon gives me a preview of my site, similar to the preview button up here at the top right. It just allows me to see what my article is going to look like once it's published. Note that it doesn't necessarily give you an accurate view depending on the template and the way you have JCE set up. If I want to insert a table, I can do that using this icon. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to click Insert Table. So if I want to select the number of columns and rows, 5 columns and 3 rows, 5 cell padding, 5 cell spacing, align it to the left. I don't want to have a border. I want it to be 100% wide. If I have a class, I can give it a class here. That would, again, that's dependent on your template. And I can click Insert. And you'll see that Joomla gives me a table that is 5 columns wide, 3 rows high, evenly spaced, 100% width of my content area. And this is flexible. So depending on my template, this will shrink or grow with the size of the content area. So from here I can enter information into my table. One thing to note, in Word or Excel, when you press Tab, it goes to the next cell. In a web browser, that doesn't work. So you're going to have to click in each one of these. If I press Enter, it opens up a new space. If I press Tab, it takes me out of my editing window to whatever's next on the tab order for the browser. Once I've highlighted my table, I have a whole number of additional things I can do. Delete the table. I can change the table description and modify all the settings. Change the color of the border, the background, all of those things. I can change the properties for a row. I can change the properties for a cell. I can insert a row before the current row, after the current row. I can delete the current row. I can insert a column before, a column after. I can delete the column that I'm in. And if I want to merge some rows or cells, I just select on the cells, holding the Shift key down, and come up here to Merge Cells, and it will merge the cells for you. The print icon allows me to print my current article the way it looks. If I want to insert a horizontal line, I can do that. This allows me to do subscript text, superscript text, toggle any invisible elements. I can insert custom characters. And again, if I'm looking for a copyright symbol or something like that, I can easily do that just by clicking there. Note it gives me the HTML code and the numerical code, but the WYSIWYG editor translates that for me. And if I want to remove the formatting on some text and just go back to the basic, I can highlight the text and click the little eraser. So that's row 3. Row 4 is where some real power lies as well. If I want to edit the CSS for a particular area, I can highlight that. And I can create a div within my article that gives me some pretty neat control over the entire highlighted text that I have. So for instance, if I wanted this particular paragraph to have a different color, different background color, I can do that quite easily, and the CSS will be inline in my article. If for some reason I need to insert a non-breaking space, I can do that by clicking there. One of the other nice features with JCE is the XHTML options that it gives you. Citation, abbreviation, and acronym. Let me just show you what citation looks like. Let's say this was text about something that I wanted to give a little pop-up too. Click on there, click Citation, give it some text, click Insert. It will change that to italicized, and then when I apply my article, we can hover over that and it will show us what we typed in our citation. These other ones work basically the same way. Alright, we're going to skip over inserting and editing an image till the next session. We've talked about inserting links. Let's take a look at Spellcheck. This is a toggle, so it allows me to look at all the errors that I've got, and of course most of these are errors. If I want to change my language, and if I have other languages installed, I can do that by clicking on the down triangle. Clicking it again just turns the spell checker off. The last thing we'll look at on this page is the code editor. Now, there are two ways to look at your code underneath, and if you don't know HTML and things like that, don't worry about it, but you can if you want. There's the Show Hide button here, which gives me all of the code with the HTML listed, but a better way of doing it is by clicking here and looking at the code in this advanced code editor. It gives me colors for my HTML tags. It lets me see line numbers. It just gives me a better way of looking at everything that I've got in my HTML. I can increase the font size, all of those kinds of things right here in my content editor. So if I know some HTML, I can play with that here. The other thing this is helpful for is if for some reason my WYSIWYG editor breaks something, and unfortunately that can happen, I can come in here and look and go, okay, I just need to delete that entire table. I can look for the beginning of the table, highlight, and go to the end of the table, and click backspace to delete the whole thing, click Update, and my table is gone. That can be really handy. The last two icons, Insert or Read More, and Insert a Page Break. Not hard, just put the cursor where I want, and click the button. And now my article has a Read More. This is my intro text, and this is the rest of the body of the text. Let's go ahead. We're going to publish this and click Save and come back out to the front page of our website. And because I put it in the latest news, my article shows up in the latest news column here. Clicking on it, you can see that it's written by the administrator because we didn't change any of these. I have my list here, my copyright symbol, all the formatting that I did. And if we look here, this is text about the citation. And so I've got some formatted text here that I can play with based on what we've learned so far.